वे नमः। श्री चैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा गदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। हे कृष्णा कर्ण सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमस्ते। तप्त कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रियै। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधार शिवसादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So, welcome everyone to Understand Gita in 18 Days, Chapter 14 overview today. The chapter name is Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga, the three modes of material nature. So, we have spoken enough about modes of nature, but now we are going to have an understanding of what they are. Let's pay our obeisances to Shri Shri Radha Govinda before we proceed. They're very beautiful. Please come and take darshan in Bangalore. This is what we did yesterday, chapter 13. Chapter 13 is a tough chapter. So everything else is going to be easier now. Chapter 13, Arjuna asks 6 questions to Krishna. What is Kshetra? What is Kshetragna? What is Jnana? What is Gyanam? What is Prakriti? What is Purusha? So Krishna answers description of Kshetra, Kshetragna and Jnana, and then process of acquiring knowledge, then Gyanam, object of knowledge, Prakriti, Purusha, and union and vision of knowledge. We studied all this yesterday. Today's topic, modes of material nature. Krishna is going to explain the conditioning of the modes in the first third of the chapter. The middle third, characteristics, action, and death in the modes. And the last third is transcending the modes. We'll come back to this slide at the end. He says, the blessed Lord said, again, I shall declare to you this supreme wisdom, the best of all knowledge, knowing which all the sages have attained to supreme perfection. So he's saying supreme wisdom. This supreme wisdom means this knowledge about modes of material nature. He said this, Rajvidya Rajguhyam in chapter 9. He said that, right? This is the most confidential knowledge. I'm going to tell you about it. The most confidential knowledge today. So he's saying this today. This particular chapter, Krishna says, is the best of all knowledge. The knowledge of the modes of nature is the best of knowledge. Mane, it's even better than what has been spoken earlier. Srila Prabhupada writes this in the purport, if you read the purport of first verse of this chapter. And what is the result of understanding and knowing this thing about the modes of nature? The sages have attained supreme perfection. Okay, so these are Nav Yogendras, the 9 rishis, and this is King Nimi. And they would pay visit to a pure devotee. They are very exalted devotees. It's mentioned, their pastime is mentioned in Canto 9 of Srimad Bhagavatam. He further elaborates on the knowledge of modes of nature by saying, by becoming fixed in this knowledge, one can attain to the transcendental nature, which is like my own nature. Not only do we attain the supreme perfection, but we become fixed in it. By become fixed and attain the transcendental nature. Thus established, one is not born at the time of creation, nor disturbed at the time of dissolution. Eternity. This is called eternity. That not born and not annihilated. Uh, so it is important to understand the modes of nature, goodness, passion, ignorance, and how they are affecting me at my psychophysical level. They don't affect the soul, but it does affect the psychophysical nature of a living entity. And in the present situation of my life, I do have a psychophysical nature, each one of us. So it is very important to understand that what is that psychophysical nature made of. If we don't know what it is made of, we can never actually harness the best of our abilities. We are not working to the best of our abilities because we really don't know what is the best in me. So, this particular knowledge of modes of nature gives us an insight as to what can be done. What mode am I most prominently situated in, and what are the activities in that mode? Sarvayonishu kantaya murtaya sambhavanti yaha tasam brahma mahadyonir aham bija pradapita. This answers the question of the origin of the universe. They are making big theories, Big Bang theory, or this theory or that theory. Why don't they read 14 chapter 4th verse? That word is the origin of the universe. It should be understood that all species of life, O son of Kunti, all of them are made possible by birth in this material nature, and I am the seed giving father. Aham bija pradapitaha. So, material nature is the mother, and I am the seed giving father. So, I glance upon the material nature, and that leads to the birth of all the living entities. Right? For the birth of a living entity, we need a father and we need a mother. So, mother is material nature. Who is the father? Krishna says, Aham bija pradapita. I am the father. Problem solved. For a devotee, they don't have problem. They don't have problem to understand where have I come from, who am I, what am I supposed to do, where will I go at the end of my life. There is no confusion in the life of a person who is in Krishna consciousness. There is no confusion. Others are bewildered, confused, or astonished, or amazed, wasting time, right? So, here again, it should be understood that all species of life, all of them, O son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in this material nature, and that I am the seed giving father. All the species of life are sons of Krishna. Everyone. And now we're going to talk about the discussion for definition of modes of nature. Sattvam rajas tama iti guna prakriti sambhavaha. Nibandhanti mahabaho dehe dehinam avyayam. Material nature consists of three modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. When a living entity comes in contact with nature, he becomes conditioned by these modes. Very important to understand. Living entity in its natural constitutional position is pure. There is a verse in third canto Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 26, verse number 22, where it is explained that the quality of a living entity is explained. The three qualities are given. What are they? Sakshaktam, avikaritam, shantitam, iti chetasaha. In a pure in a purest of pure stage, the soul is sakshaktam, avikaritam, shantiktam, iti chetasaha, means it is unbridled, not disturbed, and is pure. Prabhupada explains in the lecture over there that let's say that there is a rainwater. The rainwater, if it is caught at the top of a mountain where there is no impurity in the environment, that rainwater is very pure. Is very pure. It doesn't need any kind of purification. That rainwater, spring water is very pure. But as the rainwater comes down the atmosphere and comes in touch with the dirt, pollutants in the air above the city, for example, or falls on the ground and comes in touch with the dirt, then it acquires the dirt. It was pure to begin with. Similarly, when the living entity comes down to the material world, it comes in contact with these modes. In general, in its pure sense, it is free from all this. But right now, all these vices start acting on it. He becomes conditioned by these modes. This is what it means. Tatra sattvam निर्मलत्वत् prakasham anamayam sukha sangena bandhati jnana sangena cha anagaha. O sinless one, the mode of goodness being purer than others is illuminating. Prakashanam is illuminating. It frees one from all sinful reactions. So sukha sangena bandhati. And those who are situated in that mode develop knowledge, but they become conditioned by the concept of happiness. Person in the mode of goodness is Brahminical by nature, wants to get up early in the morning, wants to read scriptures, wants to maintain very clean environment, wants to have a very simple life. Uh, okay, and they are free from sinful activities because they are in knowledge. Knowledge, ignorance is the reason for root of all sins. Knowledge is liberating. But problem is mode of goodness is also binding because one becomes very comfortable with that kind of a lifestyle. One doesn't want to go beyond. Okay, so I have a video from Boys at Gurukul showing mode of goodness.
Come, let us go for a stroll in the countryside. Look. Look. I brought us a healthy picnic lunch. So peaceful. Here we can get away from the agitating elements of the city.
Okay, so such person is very wants to live in suburban areas, is not inclined to be very hectic in schedule. It's kind of calm down kind of a thing. Okay, let's see what happens in mode of passion. What are the symptoms? Rupa Mataji, do you want to sing this verse? You're such a nice reciter. Are you there, Rupa Mataji?
Yes, Mataji. Yes, Mataji.
Okay.
रजो रागात्मकं विधि तृष्णा संगा समुद्भवम् तन्निबध्नाति कौन्तेय कर्मसङ्गेन देहिनम्.
Very nice, Mataji. Thank you. The mode of passion is born of unlimited desires and longings, O son of Kunti, and because of this, one is bound to material fruitive activities. Unlimited desires and longings. See, desire is not prohibited, but unlimited of that. And longings, one does lot of activities, works very hard so that they can earn a lot, so that they can have lot of things to enjoy with. That's passion. Here.
What are you doing, man? Out here working on your tan? Money's the honey Sunday! I bet you forgot about Susie, didn't you? You're supposed to take her to Vegas this weekend. You know, lose your money Vegas, you'll be rich. You'll reach the top. Just one hitch. You're just unstuck. Just get it.
Right, so you'll be rich. Okay, keep trying, keep trying, keep trying. You're gonna be very rich one day. And why one person wants to be rich? What is the reason behind that desire to become rich? To defeat some poverty stricken environment. And what is the poverty doing to the person? The poverty is not allowing the person to fulfill their material desires, to have more and more and more. Okay, so this is most prominent in on earth. We see on upper planetary system mode of goodness is more prominent. On earthly planet Bhurlok, this mode of passion is most prominent.
What are you doing?
Okay, Rupa Mataji, mode of ignorance.
तमस्त्व अज्ञानजं विधि मोहनं सर्वदेहिनां प्रमादालस्य निद्राभिस्तन्निबध्नाति भारत.
Thank you. O son of Bharata, the mode of ignorance causes the delusion of all living entities. The result of this is mode is madness, indolence, and sleep, which bind the conditioned soul. There are some people who enjoy sleeping. There are. So they can't look forward to sleep again and again and again and again. And that is the result of mode of ignorance. Let's see what happens there.
Hey, that's that. That's that, man. I think you just need to chill with me. I got 6 packs in the fridge, play some video games, watch some TV, shut the curtains and just shut out the world. Sounds good, huh?
See, so all madness is sleep. So what happens to a person who is situated in mode of goodness, mode of passion, or mode of ignorance? Sattvam sukhe sanjayati. Okay, person in mode of goodness is happy. Raja karmani bharata. The mode of passion binds one to work, work, work. Jnanam avritya tu tamaha. Mode of ignorance leads to um, to illusion, to madness. Pramadde sanjayate uta. Pramadde means madness. Okay, so more of goodness conditions one to happiness, passion conditions to fruits of action, and ignorance to madness. So all these are happening in a pure living entity who was actually unbridled, full of peace, and pure in existence. Sometimes the mode of passion becomes prominent, defeating the mode of goodness. O son of Bharata, and sometimes the mode of goodness defeats passion, and at other times the mode of ignorance defeats goodness and passion. In this way, there is always a competition for supremacy. So it's not that we are fixed in one particular mode in a day. We are always fighting. One mode is fighting with another, and that's why we are whole day running here and there. For example, early in the morning, mode of goodness is prominent. Middle of the day, let's say from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., passion is prominent. Everyone is running here and there to get their work done, to acquire material assets. And in the night, then everyone is forced to put to sleep. So mode of ignorance is prominent. Okay, so like that, there's always a defeat. There's always a, I'm sorry, competition. Mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance. They're fighting, 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 fighting. And it is centered around the mind. The manifestation of mode of goodness can be experienced when all the gates of the body are illuminated by knowledge. So, the person in mode of goodness is in knowledge. When they see something with their eyes, they really see the thing. It's not that they see something which they want to see, but they really see the thing as it is, as the situation is, as the thing is, that the person is. Mode of passion, person sees the thing just so that they what they can get out of it. What is it that I can acquire from here and become rich? Mode of ignorance does not see anything. They only see madness, illusion, and sleep. Okay. O chief of Bhartas, when there is an increase in mode of passion, symptoms of great attachment, uncontrollable desire, hankering, and intense endeavor develop. This leads to a lot of painful life. Don't we hear that in our life that whoever is supposed to be our role model or the civilization that we're living in forces us to have a role model who has struggled a lot in their life and then eventually became successful. Sounds familiar, right? That this particular person struggled for 50 years and finally achieved this particular thing. Well, there is nothing glorious about it because at the end they died. And 50 years they struggled. So that struggle is like this mode of passion. So the planet Earth is situated, the middle planetary system is situated with the prominence of mode of passion, which forces us to think that if I don't work, then I will not earn. And if I'm not going to earn, then I will die. Right? This is a thought that is very prominent in a living entity in this particular atmosphere. Great attachment, uncontrollable desire, hankering, and intense endeavor. What these novels or these books don't cover is that what was their personal character. Okay, what was their personal struggle like? They highlight one particular aspect of the person's life, but that is only a one chapter in someone's life. That's not the life all in all. So they really miss out the intense hankering that that person had, the sleepless nights, and the enviousness that they were cultivating against other people. That's why we really don't have a good role model from material point of view, unless and until we turn to the shastras and we find out a role model over there. We really don't really have a model that we should be following. O son of Kuru, when there is an increase in mode of ignorance, madness, illusion, inertia, and darkness are manifested. Okay, so somebody is suffering from some kind of a ailment, like this particular picture I'm showing, addiction to some particular foreign object. It could be a drug or it could be entertainment, which is number one addiction in today's world. Number one addiction in today's world is not drugs, it is entertainment. The whole world is addicted. That's a result of this mode of ignorance. Or video games. Madness, illusion, inertia, and darkness are manifested. When one dies in the mode of goodness, he attains to the pure higher planets. At least pure higher planets. Still remains in the material world, but still at least goes up. Um, so this is a story from fourth canto Srimad Bhagavatam, where Daksha was given instruction by his father Brahma to populate the planets. So Daksha gave birth to 10,000 sons. These are the 10,000 sons of Daksha. And he instructed the sons to marry and populate the planetary systems. But then he said, before you do that, before you enter the Grihasthashram, go and seek blessings from Saint Narada. So they went to, like we do, right? Before I start something auspicious, let me go pray, right? So like that, they went to Narad Muni to seek blessings. And then what happened? Narad Muni gave them instructions on transcendental nature, the living entity, and all of them. They met Narad Muni not only, not even for the whole day, but the power of association with a pure devotee is so strong that all 10,000 boys took sannyas. They never went back home. Daksha was really mad at Narad Muni. Then he had second set of sons, 5,000 sons. And he gave them the same instruction, populate the world, but then go to Sage Narada and seek his blessings. So 5,000 sons also came to Narad Muni to seek their blessings before they entered Grihastha ashram. Narad Muni convinced them also. You see, the younger brothers are supposed to follow the footsteps of the exalted older brothers. So that 5,000 sons also became Krishna conscious, never went back home. Then Daksha was really mad. Then Daksha actually cursed Narad Muni. It's written in fourth canto Srimad Bhagavatam. I have read it. That he cursed Narad Muni. That Narad Muni, because of you, my family life is not getting settled. So I curse you that you will never be able to settle at one place for a long time. You'll always keep moving. You will never have a fixed residence. Narad Muni is such a powerful devotee. He could have reversed the curse, but he took it as a mercy of Krishna. That's why we see Narad Muni is never fixed in one place. And Prabhupada writes in the last verse of fourth canto Srimad Bhagavatam that because we in Madhva Gauriya Sampradaya, we in ISKCON come in Narad Muni's disciplic succession. So, as in a family, the heritage is passed from one generation to another. Similarly, the curse is also passed from one generation to another. So we also have this curse of Narad Muni of not being able to settle at one place, and that is the reason why I keep moving from one part of the world to another part of the world. But at this ripe age, I ask my disciples to share the curse so that I can sit down at one place and write. Such is the heritage. Okay. So, mode of goodness dies, attains to higher planets. When one dies in mode of passion, he takes birth among those engaged in fruitive activities. And when one dies in mode of ignorance, he takes birth in the animal kingdom. So, karanam gunasangasya chadasa janma yonishu. Karanam gunasanga. Whatever guna I am associating with, I am making my next body according to that. There is no magic. This it's pretty clear that whatever, if I am working and living as a if I'm very attached to sleeping 30 hours out of 24 hours, let's say, then that's what I really want to do. That's my enjoyment. Then the next life of an animal is waiting, where I will be able to sleep 6 months out of one year. I don't want to do that, but I'm giving example. Okay, so we are responsible for what happens to us. Man is an architect of its own destiny. Karmanaha. Oh, Mataji, you want to chant? Rupa Mataji. Vibha is there.
Karmana. Yes,
Go
Mataji.
ahead,
Vibha
go
also
ahead.
is there. Vibha, you
Okay,
want to
Mataji.
chant?
She'll
Okay.
chant next one. Why don't you go ahead, Rupa Mataji?
कर्मणः सुकृतस्याहुः सात्विकं निर्मलं फलं रजसस्तु फलं दुःखम् अज्ञानं तमसः फलम्.
Very nice. Thank you. By acting in mode of goodness, one becomes purified. Work done in mode of passion result in distress. Action performed in mode of ignorance result in foolishness. Okay, so as a human being, I'm supposed to purify my existence. So I'm supposed to cultivate. I have to cultivate mode of goodness. I may not be born in it, but I have to cultivate it. Chanting Hare Krishna at least puts one in mode of goodness, if not Shuddha Sattva. Okay, work done in mode of passion is distress. Oh my god, when somebody builds, mode of passion means create, 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 but mode of goodness means maintain. Maintenance is a property of mode of goodness. Difficult to maintain. From the mode of goodness, real knowledge develops. From mode of passion, grief develops. From mode of ignorance, foolishness, madness, and illusion develops. Like we can understand, mode of goodness, one becomes very knowledgeable. Mode of passion, because there is intense hankering, intense longings, it will never be satisfied. The lust can never be satisfied. So the person is always morose. I want more. My happiness is in future. I am not happy today, but I will be happy tomorrow if I get this particular thing done, or if I get this particular object of my sense gratification. That is what is my happiness. Let me strive hard to get that. So they're very unhappy in the beginning and they remain unhappy. Passion, there is no happiness. No happiness at all. Not even a iota of it. Mode of goodness, mode of ignorance, foolishness, madness, and illusion develops. Doesn't know what is what. Okay, same thing. Mode of goodness, knowledge develops. Passion, greed, and ignorance, foolishness, madness, and illusion. So, what did we do so far? So far, we studied that there are three modes of nature: goodness, passion, ignorance. The living entity is pure in its constitutional state, but when the living entity comes in contact with three modes, it develops one of the three qualities according to psychophysical nature. And then we studied the symptoms of goodness, passion, ignorance. Then we studied that what happens when one dies in mode of goodness, and when one dies in mode of passion, and when one dies in mode of ignorance, and what is the future of mode of goodness, passion, ignorance. This is the future. Okay. Yes, go ahead, Vibha. Vibha, you're
ऊर्ध्वं
there.
गच्छन्ति सत्त्वस्त मध्ये तिष्ठन्ति राजसः जिघन्या गुणवृत्तिष्ठ अधो गच्छन्ति तमसः.
Very nice. Thank you. Those situated in mode of goodness gradually go upward to the higher planets. Those in mode of passion live on the earthly planet. And those in mode of ignorance go down to the hellish worlds. So the menu is available. You choose what you want to do, how you want to live your life. Bhagavad Gita is full of choices. Okay, so we are here, Bhurulok. Mode of passion is very, very prominent. Upper planetary system, Bhuvar, Swarg, Mahar, Jana, Tapo, Satya, up to the Brahmalok, which is the highest planetary system in material world. As we go up, mode of goodness increases. As we go down, mode of ignorance increases. Mode of ignorance has 5 layers. Okay, Srimad Bhagavatam explains everything. 5 types of ignorance are there. And as we go down to until like Atal, Vital, Sutal, Talatal, Mahatal, Rasatal, Patal, and mode of ignorance goes on becoming more and more thick. When you see that there is nothing beyond these modes of nature in all activities, and that the Supreme Lord is transcendental to all these modes, then you can know my spiritual nature. Okay, people want to understand who is Krishna. First, we have to understand who am I. Forget how can I understand Krishna if I don't even know who am I? Even if somebody tells about something of Krishna, or I get answers, questions about Radharani, first understand who you are. Then you'll be able to understand who others are. When the embodied being is able to transcend these three modes, he can become free from birth, death, old age, and their distresses, and can enjoy nectar even in this life. Okay, this is the word of Krishna. Even in this life, one can become transcendental to all these misgivings of the modes by able to transcend them. Transcend even the mode of goodness. People generally think mode of goodness is the highest, but here Krishna telling us transcend even that also. Shuddha Sattva platform, not just Sattva. So even in this life, and this is I'm going to show you an example how devotees are enjoying nectar. This is Srila Prabhupada with his young sannyasis. This is Vishnujan Swami. Prabhupada's oldest sannyasi was around 30 years old. 34, I think. Oldest. Youngest was 16 years old. Prabhupada was giving sannyas platform to all these boys at this age. And I'll show you at 45. nice, right? The singer is Vishnudhan Swami. Vishnudhan Swami is from Los Angeles, and he used to do roaring Sankirtan every day for 6 to 8 hours on the streets of Los Angeles. Every day. And he was a very robust Mridanga player. His fingers used to bleed, playing Mridanga for so long. But then he never stopped. He invented a way. I was reading about him. He invented a way that he used to put pennies on top of in the tips of his fingers and then tie them with a rubber band and then put woolen gloves and then go out and then do Sankirtan 6 to 8 hours a day. Okay, so that is the nectar. Now Arjuna asked Krishna, Arjuna inquired, O my dear Lord, by what symptoms is one known who is transcendental to those modes? What is his behavior and how does he transcend the modes of nature? He asked a similar question in second chapter also about Siddha Pragna. Right? So, what are the symptoms of one who is situated in transcendental consciousness? How does he talk? How does he walk? How does he sit? So, he's asking here again, what is the symptom of that person who is in the transcendental consciousness, who is transcendental to those modes? What is his behavior and how does he transcend? How does he get there? These are the questions that need to be asked. The blessed Lord said, He who does not hate illumination, attachment, and delusion when they are present, nor longs for them when they disappear, who is seated like no one, that who is seated like one unconcerned, being situated beyond these material reactions of the modes of nature, who remains firm, knowing that modes are alone active, who regards alike pleasure and pain, who looks on a clod, a stone, and piece of gold with an equal eye, who is wise and holds praise and blame to be the same. Praise and blame to be the same. Who holds who is unchanged in honor and dishonor, who treats friends and foe alike, who has abandoned all fruitive undertakings. Such a man is said to have transcended the mode of nature. So to become purely Krishna conscious is not easy. Mam chayo avyabicarena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatitetan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who engages. So how does he get there? How does he transcend the modes of nature? One who engages in full devotional service. Full devotional service. Who does not fall down in any circumstance, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. There is no other way. It's not that I will do some sacrifice or I will do some charity or I will follow some ritual or I will study some Vedas and I will become a pure devotee. No. This secret has been told many times now, starting from chapter 9. Full devotional service. One need to do something for Krishna. Do it. Or do for something under the supervision of an acharya. Do something. And it begins with tongue. Chant Hare Krishna. It is a beginning. One has to begin, right? And it also begins with the ears. Hear about Krishna. When we hear about Krishna, then it purifies the heart. Because impurities are sitting in the heart. Cheto darpanam marjanam. The heart becomes purified. And Prabhupada was on a trip to Hawaii on a plane. I think I've told this. Please excuse me if I'm repeating this again. But um, he was going to Hawaii, and one church priest in the plain clothes approached him and said that, Swamiji, how come your disciples are so bright faced? How come they're so bright faced? So Prabhupada answered, because the process is so nice. It cleanses the heart. The face is the index of the mind. So Hare Krishna's a bright face, right? You look at Navanishta Prabhu, just look. He's so effulgent. And he's really, actually, the camera doesn't do a good job. If you look at him in person, you feel that saintliness around his personality. Because how come? Because the heart is so clean. It is a business of a human being to clean all these things. ब्राह्मणो हि प्रतिष्ठा अहम अमृतवस्य च शाश्वतस्य च धर्मस्य सुखायै कान्तिकस्य च. And I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is constitutional, which is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness, and which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal. Mayavadis think Brahman is the all in all realization. But here you go, 1427. Krishna is saying that I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, means that impersonal Brahman also has an origin. There is a cause of this impersonal Brahman, and the origin is Krishna. He says that I am the basis of impersonal Brahman, which is a constitutional position of ultimate happiness, which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal. So, actually, Brahman Jyoti is nothing but um, the effulgence from the body of Krishna. It's effulgence. Krishna's body is effulgent, so it emanates light, and that light is Brahman Jyoti. So, he is the basis. Okay, so this is the summary of this chapter. This is what we did overviewed. Please go back and read the chapter. Conditioning of the modes. The living entity is pure by nature, but when it comes in touch with the modes of natural nature, it becomes conditioned. Okay, it is described in verse 1 to 9, first third. Idam jnanam upashritya. And Krishna calls this knowledge as best of all. Best of all knowledge. Krishna calls this knowledge about the modes as the best. Characteristics or symptoms of one in mode of goodness, passion, ignorance, action. What are the symptoms and then what are the activities? And what happens to one who dies in mode of goodness, mode of passion, or mode of ignorance? From verse 10 to 18. Yada sattve pravardhi tu. And then transcending the modes. How can one transcend? Ultimately, one has to learn how to get out of this place and go back to Krishna, not just get out. Go back to Krishna. So, last third, 19 to 27, Mam Chayu Avyabhicharena. Only by unalloyed devotional service to Krishna, only by unalloyed, unmotivated, Anukule Bhakti. What is that verse in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu? There's a verse, Anukulena Krishna Anushilanam Bhakti Ruttama. Sarva Upadhi Vinirmuktam Tatparatvena Nirmalam. Rishikena Rishikesa Sevanam Bhakti Ruchate. Sarva Upadhi Vinirmuktam. One has to get rid of all the upadhis. I am this, I am that, I am that. Nothing. I am nothing other than being part and parcel of Krishna. I have nothing, no other upadhi. Very difficult for a conditioned soul. Very difficult. But that's what Krishna wants. All right, so we'll go over the poll, and then I have a very nice video to show today. So there are two questions, one after another. Please go ahead. What are the three modes of material nature? Human beings, animals, and nature. Good, bad, ugly, goodness, passion, ignorance, air, water, fire. What are the three modes of material nature? How do those conditioned in the mode of goodness become situated in the mode of goodness become conditioned according to verse 6? By expecting fruits of karma, by having sense of happiness and knowledge, by becoming a very lazy person, by having a society of like-minded friends. So what are the three modes of material nature that I gave the whole class on today? Hare Krishna. Some people are not answering that right, the three modes of material nature. So far, 53% of the class is voted. Here, material nature consists of three modes. This is the answer. If you can still change your answer. And what are the modes? How does that person in the mode of goodness become conditioned? It's an open book exam. You can open your Bhagavad Gita when you write these exams and read the verse. 14.5, 14.6. Okay, so 75% of the class is voted. Gonna wait few more minutes, few more seconds. All right, 81% of the class is voted. That's nice. Okay, I'm gonna end the polling. Let's look at the results. What are the three modes of material nature according to verse 5? Answer is goodness, passion, ignorance. What is so hard in it? Why somebody answered human being, animals, and nature, air, water, fire? What made you answer this? Material nature consists of three modes: goodness, passion, ignorance. Simple. Okay, I was expecting 100%. Maybe I should not expect. How do those situated in mode of goodness become conditioned? The answer is having sense of happiness and knowledge. Expecting fruits of karma is mode of passion. Okay, it's not goodness. But they become conditioned by the concept of happiness. This is mode of goodness, according to verse number 6. All right, so the answer is this, which majority of the class answered okay. I mean, right. All right, so there's this video. I have some god brothers in UK. So they did this survey on the street. What are you going to do? Now, this is a question for all of you too, or each one of us. What are you going to do if you only have 24 hours left to live? You know, then what are you going to do? Let's see what they figured out on the street. They went around and asked this question.
What would you do if you had 24 hours left to live?
Probably, I'm not really sure. Where are you guys from?
America, Indiana.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. 24 hours. What would I spend time with?
If you had 24 hours to live, what would you do?
Oh, I've often thought about that.
Well, I would like to be a prime minister of the country.
I'd spend every penny I had. I'd jump on people.
And I'd kiss someone that I fancied for ages.
And tell them.
I'd just run up to them and be like, I actually love you.
Yeah, I'd have sex with every
Or
every
I
person
might
in the world.
become quite religious.
Yeah, and now say look,
just in case.
in the last
Just in case.
in the last hour,
In the last hour, I'd confess and pray.
What do you think makes you most happy in life?
This sounds really geeky, but reading.
Reading what in particular?
Good stuff, like, I don't know.
If you had 24 hours to live, what would you do?
To live there.
24 hours to live.
enjoy the life.
What would you do to enjoy life?
Like going to club and just
Have a
eating,
You have good food.
Yeah. If you had 24 hours to live, what would you do?
Wow. I'll serve God.
I'd bungee jump
You'd bungee jump. Why?
off an aeroplane because it sounds like fun and I've always wanted to do it.
If I had 24 hours to live, what would I do?
Probably jump out of a plane.
Probably
I'd probably have a party and invite like all my friends and all my family.
I would go bungee jumping without a rope and kill myself, probably, because that would be the best way to go.
I'd listen to MTV Bass all day.
I'd say bye to my family and friends.
And then go clubbing.
So you do those things because you think that's what makes you the most happiest, right? Yeah. Yeah? All right, excellent. What would I do?
I don't know, what would you do?
Bring my family.
What would you do?
Eat a lot.
Kiss all the boys.
Kiss all the boys. Kiss good, like say hi to every boy I like.
What would I do?
I don't know, why are you asking me?
Eat.
Why would you eat?
Come on, man. It's food, isn't it? Mum's cooking.
Definitely go on holiday and spend a lot of money.
Okay.
Nothing can make you happy in the last 24 hours of living.
But
it would take your
But
mind
yeah,
off things.
It would help.
Okay.
So 24 hours would be so short a time for me to fulfill them. You see?
So don't you think we should be fulfilling them from now?
Indeed. I mean, you start thinking about it now because you always wonder. I mean, 24 hours is almost nothing. That's a day. You know, we always have 24 hours in a day. But if you think hard about it, all the regrets you might have, sometimes it might be worth starting now, isn't it? So that you have no regrets. Such that when you have the 24 hours, it won't be like you're really missing anything. You live to die.
Yeah, exactly. You live to die.
Yeah.
So the only way to make death perfect is if you plan from now.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Makes sense, right? It's like if you know something's going to happen in your life, for example, if you know that in the future you want to have a
There's only
family.
one thing certain, though, ain't it? That's death.
Yeah.
There's nothing else.
And that's-
certain. Yeah. You can guarantee on death.
And that's
Be happy, shouldn't you? Really?
and that's the only thing we don't plan for. Do you know what I mean? We plan for so many things in our life,
Yeah.
but the one thing we don't plan for is the one thing that's definitely going to happen.
That's true. How old are you? 20. 20. See, he's got a lot of sense.
Sorry, I was going to question if you're so young.
Thanks very much. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
That's Jay Shetty, by the way. If you know, Jay Shetty is a ISKCON guy. Ghanshyam Priyadas. Okay, so we can make the breakout rooms for 5 minutes only because Vasudevan Prabhu is gonna come. Is that okay? Madhurani, Rupa Mataji, Anvya Mataji. So I'm gonna bring you back in 5 minutes on the clock, so you can time yourself. Okay.
Yes, my
Please make sure you three are in different rooms. All right, so you all can go for 5 minutes to different rooms. And if someone is staying back and you have a question for me, you can please raise your hand. Gaurav Govardhan Das Prabhu. Yes, Prabhuji. Hi Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hi Krishna.
Actually, I was listening today. You mentioned that means we are we are always busy in earning money and under the modes of passion, right? Okay, but as long as we are in this role on this earth, right? So we need to complete our responsibilities, carry out such deeds so that our responsibilities get fulfilled to our family, towards our family, and things like that. So, is it right or is it not? Does it comes under the Krishna consciousness or not?
Okay, so Krishna consciousness talks about two kinds of duties. One is called Swadharma and another is called Sanatan Dharma. So,
Right.
what you're telling me is a Swadharma, like a prescribed duty, which is recommended. It's
Okay.
fine, but that's not all in all. It is
Okay.
very much conditioned by the time factor, right? All the relationships are in the constraints of the time. They were not there before, they are there now, and they will not be there in future. The
So
time period that they're there, one is allowed to do the prescribed duty to under the rules and regulation of the scriptures, but that's not all in all. The real thing is Sanatan Dharma. What about the duty to the soul, which is always there?
definitely, definitely. And one more question I got, that is it allowed in Bhagavad Gita that we should maintain a kind of particular relationship with Krishna? Like, can I treat him as my brother, as my friend, and things like that? Is it allowed, or always treat him as God? Because what I feel is in Prema Bhakti, like what I feel means that keeping relationship, particular kind of relationship with Krishna makes you more gets you more closer to him.
So the thing is that we are not on Prem Bhakti platform. That we have a relationship with Krishna. It's not that we have to invent a new relation. We just need to rediscover it. We have forgotten it. It
Okay.
needs to be rediscovered, and it is rediscovered. For example, if there is a son of a very rich man, but the son has now become a hippie and is loitering on the street and has
Okay.
forgotten the relationship with the rich father, that doesn't mean that the relationship is over. That says he's just forgotten it, right? So
Right.
in the same way, we have a relationship with Krishna. It's not that we have to make a new one or think about it. And that is revealed when one takes shelter of a bona fide guru and follows the rules and regulations.
Right.
Without accepting a spiritual master, without following rules and regulations of the scriptures of acharyas, it is not possible. Then it is coming from the mind, it is
Okay.
not coming from the soul. Okay, so
Mm.
better in the initial stages, just learn surrender from spiritual master. Better just to do chant
Okay.
Hare Krishna, follow regular principles, and
Okay.
you then slowly it is revealed that what are you really to Krishna? What is your relation?
Okay, actually, let me tell you something very honestly that I have. I will not say that I have Laddu Gopalji, that he is into his home, like where I am living, and luckily his he got his name Gokul, right? So I treat him as my elder brother and always behave him with him like in that way.
It's a okay, Prabhu. So I cannot tell you what to do, what not to do because I'm not your spiritual master. If that connects you to your deity, fine, that's
Okay.
fine. But make sure that you're doing all the things according to the regulations and not
Right.
according to your imagination.
That's right. No onion, no garlic comes to our house. Luckily, after being I was initiated around 8 years back.
Hmm.
And Mataji, one last question is that how to maintain neutrality in any kind of events or odds on your face, especially.
It's a very difficult. So we are what we associate with. Why are we not able to maintain the neutrality? What makes us unsettled in life is because of the kind of association we are in, right?
Right.
Some trigger comes, and the person or the situation that triggers us is also not from coming from the mode of goodness. Honestly, the answer is by keeping the right association.
Definitely right.
Just-
And Mataji, I would like to tell you something that couple of days back you shown a video how a living entity comes in the womb of her mother, right? And the pains and sufferings he goes through. After seeing that video, my mind has changed, has gone under a drastic change, that we are wasting our time in such kind of material things and running after those things, that our final destination is something else, that we need to go back to Krishna, and we are not I'll not say we, I'll say I am not focusing on that path properly with my 100%, which is my reality, that I need to go back to Krishna. And when after some time I went to market and I saw people like running after useless things, and they are wasting time, that what is their original destination and what is the real meaning of the life. And people are still behaving, the people are still envy, people are still greedy, and things like that. Means it shaken me a lot.
Hmm. So there's a saying, right? Be the change you want to see in the world. So you set an
Right.
example how it should be.
Right,
I'm
right.
sorry if I disturbed you, but that's what it is. And
No, no.
we can only take care
No,
of
no,
ourselves. We're not Acharya.
you didn't disturb me, Mataji. You didn't disturb me.
Hmm.
It opened my eyes once again.
Okay. Very nice.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Just keep chanting Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Sarita Mataji, what is your question? That unalloyed devotional
Yeah.
service?
I just want to know the expansion, how unalloyed totally we can go into with no mixing, no amalgamation of any two things. So how to proceed with that unalloyed devotion? The
Well,
steps,
the real
procedures, or whatever, those I know the rules, but anything else has to be added to make it totally unalloyed. No, one thing more. If we are praying to Shiva also along with that, is that alloyed? Is that unalloyed? This is also coming in my mind. Can it be? You always say add it. Okay, don't substitute, you add it. This is your very good sentence, which I always hook on to. But it's unalloyed means that becomes alloyed or not.
you always put me in a difficult situation. So, unalloyed and uninterrupted. Ahetuki apratihata ye natma suprasidati. Right? Ahetuki and apratihata. The Sanskrit word is this. Means it is not, there is no motivation behind that service to Krishna. That Krishna, I'm going to do this business transaction. So, I'm going to हम इतने रुपए का चढ़ावा चढ़ाएंगे, वी आर गोइंग टू ऑफर दिस मच ऑफ दिस, जस्ट हमारी ये इच्छा है पूरी कर दो, जस्ट फुलफिल दिस डिजायर. That is not unalloyed or unmotivated. There's a motive behind that worship. And that's business transaction according to Prahlad Maharaj in 7th canto Srimad Bhagavatam. Right? So that is anything that is not like that. The unalloyed devotional service can only happen once we develop love for Krishna. Love means service. According to the Shastras, love means service. How can I serve? For example, the purest love in this material world is mother's love for the child. There is no other love which is as pure as a mother's love for a child. The mother loves the child just because it's her child. There is no other reason. She wants to feed the child, she wants to keep the child healthy, she wants to dress the child, clean the child, make the child very happy. Why? Why? Child is not asking. I give you an example. When a newborn baby is born, what do the newborn babies do? Eat and sleep and poop. That's all they do. Every 2 hours or 3 hours, they need to be fed. Now, I have seen it in like a gazillion times. I'm sure you have seen it too. That let's say that there is this mother, a new mother, and she's supposed to feed the child every 2-3 hours, but she's tired, so she sleeps maybe out of 2 hours in the night. Let's say she slept for 4 hours, and the child is also sleeping peacefully, and the mother is sleeping. And when she gets up from the sleep, what is the first thing that comes to her mind? I am such a bad mom. 4 hours I slept. I did not feed my child. But she doesn't see child is sleeping peacefully. You're sleeping. Oh my God, I'm such a bad mom. I'm supposed to. This is unalloyed. I just want to serve. Krishna, I want to serve you so that you can be happy. I don't want anything. I want you. Unalloyed devotional service has so many colors. It's not colorless. Study the life of Mother Yashoda. Damodar Leela is very nicely explained. That's my favorite pastime. So over there, Prabhupada explains what is happening over there. What is happening? Mother Yashoda is running behind Krishna because Krishna broke the pot of yogurt that his mother was turning into butter for him. Right. And then she's running behind him with a stick. Why is she running behind him with a stick? Prabhupada says this. Now, Prabhupada is Acharya. I'm going to repeat his word exactly as he says. He says, she's running behind him. Why is she running? What is the reason? She's running because she says, you rascal Krishna, I was churning this yogurt into butter for you. So you will eat it and you will grow fatty. Now you have interrupted my service to you. Now you must be punished. So this is unalloyed. Like I'm very attached to service to Krishna. Very, very attached. And that can only happen if we are associating with a pure devotee. We are what we associate with. We are, right? And
It's
how
sort
to
of
get...
Sorry.
Go ahead.
It's sort of an unconditional.
Correct. There is no condition for love
There's
to
no
Krishna.
condition.
Correct. But the mother's love is kind of the purest, but there's also sometimes this mother thinks when my child will grow up, or she will know that what hardships I went through to raise and I'll be taken care. So there's some contamination because of material nature, but that's the purest love explained in the scriptures.
But then praying to other deities is not prohibited, no? That's what you always been telling.
So praying to anybody is not prohibited unless and until the goal is Krishna. You can pray to anyone. Prabhupada starts Nectar of Devotion. There's a prayer to Lord Ganesha. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu in the beginning, there's a prayer to Lord Ganesha. So his disciples asked him that how come we are praying to Lord Ganesha? How come Rupa Goswami Prabhupada is praying to Lord Ganesha? Or in Krishna book, we read Gopis prayed to Mother Katyayani. Right? Mother Katyayani is subordinate to Krishna. So how come? And Prabhupada answered one thing, that we can pray to anybody provided the goal is Krishna.
It's like a principal and the teachers, no? You respect all, you love all.
Yeah, but you have to be very honest that the goal is Krishna. So we also pray to Lord Shiva because he's the topmost Vaishnava. The type of Vaishnava culture that he has is unmatched. So if I go in his shelter, please give me a little bit of a Krishna consciousness. That is proper worship, not the business transaction.
Oh. So it's not alloyed then. It's unalloyed still.
Correct.
Praying to all, it's also unalloyed, no? That's not any. I meant to figure out that way only. That if we can have a devotion to all, but our aim is to reach Krishna.
Yeah, Mataji, there's a difference between devotion and worship. Devotion is only for Krishna. Worship we can do.
We can. Because see, there are so many these festivals which come up, like Shivratri came, then again now Durga Ashtami will come. So we do follow from childhood all of them. So we cannot just shift on. But and I understood your point that ultimately devotional service, you have to do it for Krishna.
And that's okay because Krishna is not judging. So Krishna has waited so long and we have to be patient with each other. But ultimately when you there will come a stage when you will say that that when you worship Krishna, you're actually worshipping everyone else. Like you put food in the mouth, you're actually nourishing the whole body. Or when you put water at the root of a tree, the whole tree gets nourished. So when you worship Krishna, everyone else gets worshipped automatically. Okay.
Thank you. Dandavad Pranam, Mataji.
Dandavad Pranam.
Hare
Hare Krishna. So I want to welcome, everyone is back? Anvya Mataji, Rupa Mataji, Madhurani.
Yes, Mataji.
All right.
Yes, Mataji.
So I want to welcome two of my, I can't say students because they're so nice devotees, Neha and Vasudevan Prabhu. They are my advanced Bhagavad Gita class participants. I'm going to put spotlight. If you can turn on your camera so I can put the spotlight on you. Neha. So we did every time we finish a chapter, I give them a project to do. And the project at the end of second chapter, was it the second chapter? Was on tolerance. A lot of teams did it. Everyone will be invited one by one. Seema Mataji, Rupa Mataji, Vibha, Madhurani, all of them also did it. So I invited them today. They're going to present some work, and they're all new. Okay, it's not that we are all sitting in ISKCON for 2 decades. Everybody, yes, Vasudevan Prabhu is Ramanujacharya Sampradaya devotee for like more than 3 decades. So he's senior to all of us. But me and Neha and Madhurani, Rupa, we are all new people. So I welcome them to speak. Please listen to them what they wrote. And this is what we do in our advanced class. Okay, Neha, you can.
So we'll directly go to the poem. It was a assignment given on tolerance. We collated a lot of slides. It's a detailed presentation. However, the highlight of the assignment was the poem written by Dr. Vasudevan Prabhuji, and I invite him to say the poem. Sir, please.
Thank you. Hare Krishna, everyone. I consider it an honor to read this poem I wrote on tolerance some time back, which has relevance to the project Tolerance. So please listen to that. Tolerance is thy name, O mighty river Ganges. Thou art embodiment of patience. Oh, what a sight ghastly see I of bodies of dead human half burnt that keep floating on O Ganges. And lo, behold, people in thousands that keep bathing on those ghats on your banks, all polluting your waters, holy, pristine, and sublime, and thereby polluting the air as well. My heart bleeds, oh Ganga Maya. Please. When I see merciless humans sending in tons and tons of industrial pollutants day in and day out as effluents of the plants onto you, transforming your crystal clear water into flowing dark waters of hell, at O Ganges, tolerant that ever you are, you absorb all these abominable acts of humans onto yourself to emerge at every stage as a smooth flowing lovely river of wholesome majesty and grace perennial. And no wonder Lord Shiva has chosen to adore you in his head with a crescent moon, releasing only speck of E to the earth for the benefit of inhabiting humans who heartlessly choose to pollute you unrelentingly. At O mighty river Ganges, Ganga Maya, you choose to tolerate these wanton atrocities like a mother unwilling to punish her erring children. Tolerance is thy name, hence, O mighty Ganges. Tolerance is a virtue, divine and transcendental. I reckon tolerance, therefore, is a gateway to Krishna consciousness. Thank you.
Hey, very nice. Thank you, Vasudevan Prabhu.
Thank you, Mataji.
So you all can say thank you to Neha and Vasudevan Prabhu. Neha is a lawyer in Bangalore, and Vasudevan Prabhu is a retired geologist. Very, very knowledgeable. Okay, you can all unmute. You have an authority to unmute and say
Thank you. Lovely poem that was.
you.
Thank you so much.
Lovely poem. Lovely poem. Thank
It was
you.
lovely creation. Very well done.
Thank you, Vasudevan sir.
Beautiful poem.
Thank you, Neha.
Thank
sir.
And Vasudevan.
Excellent stuff. Excellent.
Amazing poem. Thank you.
thank you. I am so proud of them.
Thank you.
So nice. So, please excuse me for saying that. So, and we are together for so many months now, right? Since August, both
Yeah.
of you. Yes.
Yeah.
Very
Exactly.
nice.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
this opportunity. Thank
Thank
you.
Mataji.
Any
Thank you.
questions, anyone, for them? Does anyone has any questions? Aruna Mataji, do you have a question for Neha or Vasudevan Prabhu, or for me?
a lot of other team members are also there from our team to support Vasudevan Prabhuji.
Oh, really? Okay.
Tanvi
Yes,
Mataji. Yeah.
no questions? Any questions? Okay, I guess no. Pretty clear. How did Vasudevan Prabhu think of Ganges? There's a
Ganges?
question in that.
Yeah, because you see, I'm very proud that our country is the only country probably in the world which finds God in nature. We talk of rivers as nature, as goddess and God. Brahmaputra as a he river, Krishna as a he river, Godavari is a she river. Then we have Ganges as a she river, Kaveri as a she river. So we find gods and goddess represented by nature. And in particular, I was attracted by Ganges because I have seen myself during my tour several years back in Benares. All this scenario that I put up in my poetry is all what I've seen actually that has come into my mind, which has taken shape as poem. Thank you.
Wow. Okay. Thank you very much. Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming, Neha. Hare Krishna.
Hare
You
Krishna.
all are
Thank
welcome
you.
to stay back. I don't know if anyone has any questions. Does anyone has any questions? Seema Mataji, we can stop recording. Thank you.